First constructed in 1973, Marsh Hall is the most populated first-year male residence hall on the University of Richmond campus, housing about 220 students. Marsh has just as many amenities as the other two freshman halls, Wood and Dennis, such as air conditioning, carpeting, showers, and plenty of laundry rooms. However, the dormitory has garnered a negative reputation among some students on campus, who deride it as a sloppy ruckus hovel of 24/7 partiers. Although, it seems to have a polarizing effect on the student body because some students love it and some students hate it. To begin our investigation into Marsh Hall, we decided to talk with the Associate Dean of Richmond College, Patrick Benner. We asked him to explain the history of the hall and elaborate on its reputation.
I think generally year to year, Marsh Hall does, and has developed a reputation. I've been here since 2001, even when all the men lived on our side, this side of campus, Richmond College side, and all the women lived on the historic West Hampton College side of campus. And Marsh Hall, even back then, had a reputation of being a more active building, if you will. It didn't used to be an all-male first-year building. It was still an all-male building, but it had first years through seniors. We didn't used to house first years separately from all the rest of the students. And so even back then, it was a more active building. And I think the stereotype that, festers from it, and there's always truth to every stereotype, is the fact that there's 220 men that live in that residence hall. It's the largest residence hall that is all male. So that does have a tendency to increase activity and increase noise.
Before speaking to the freshman students living in Marsh, we met up with Jeet Ramji, the resident assistant of the first floor of the building, to hear his perspective on life in the dorm.
It's not so bad. It's not at all what people think. Like, living in Marsh, having to deal with freshmen, it can be difficult, but it's also really helpful. No. Well, I live on the first floor, which is normally the more quieter floor compared to the others. But when I close my door at night, it's pretty quiet because they always do a good job of doing their rounds and stuff.
Students like Trevor Kaminsky feel that living in Marsh Hall is a less than pleasurable experience.
I don't particularly prefer residence life all too well. Well, for one thing, there's the smell. I mean, so many times I've walked through the halls here and it smells like skunk and pot. Overall, I dislike it.
Christopher Rain has a more neutral opinion on residence life in Marsh Hall.
It's an experience. I live pretty close to the entrance, so our exit sign gets torn down pretty frequently. People are also pretty loud on the weekends, but I've recently started heavily investing in Tylenol PM as a sleep aid, so it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to sleep quietly and study? Maybe not Marsh. If you want to party on a Wednesday, Marsh Hall. Definitely Marsh Hall. I believe the bathroom we have over here on the first floor is the only one which still has its ceiling mostly intact. I think its reputation's well deserved. I think the vast majority of people, especially upperclassmen, have experienced Marsh and all other people. I think it's got a pretty consistent reputation across the years, and it is deserved.
Some students, like James Lovett, have a more positive outlook on living in Marsh Hall.
It has been known as a party dorm, I would say. It kind of varies each floor you're on. I'd say basement is probably the craziest floor, then first and then second. Then third floor is kind of like we can party if we want to, but we're also very casual and nice and friendly and like to relax. Typically the room size is like this. It's kind of nice. See, we haven't doesn't get too loud or too crazy at night, and we're not usually here that much at night, so it's fine. I'd say I've really enjoyed living in Marsh, and I'd much rather live in Marsh than say Wood or Dennis, which are the other two freshman dorms. So I definitely think Marsh is the place to live if you're looking for somewhere to live.
From our inquiries, we have discovered that despite the facts that life in Marsh Hall is far from perfect and that there is some truth to its notoriety, the reputation it has earned is not entirely warranted. Overall, it appears that opinions on Marsh Hall vary from person to person.